Chapter 4, Part 5. The Prophecy of the Great Amerindian Sage P.T. Sanhunka, 1849-1947. In 1919, this great Amerindian sage had a vision of the future, which he shared with his children. This prophecy was passed down from generation to generation in the greatest secrecy. According to his great-grandson, who wishes to remain anonymous, it's now time for this prediction to be translated into everyday language and revealed to the world before it's too late for the future of mankind. When the calendar dates imposed on us are once again in mirror position, 2020, men will have forgotten that first war that shed so much blood. Memories of the horrors they went through will fade from their minds and spirits will fall asleep again. Hearts will close in on one another, each isolating himself in his own universe, cut off from any sense of solidarity. Like lone wolves, humans will believe they are free to go wherever they please and do as they please without regard for others. What they don't realize is that without the protection of his pack, an isolated wolf is all the more vulnerable. Then, in the four corners of the earth, a new war will begin, the greatest war of all, a war without guns or cannons, a fearsome war against Mother Earth, with the aim of subduing her and controlling her every side, a visceral war that will exploit all her riches and cause the extinction of many species, both animal and plant. An insidious war that will destroy man's very link with nature and the great cycle of life of which he is a part. The sleeping minds of mankind, cut off from their connection with the greater whole, will not see it coming when they become the next target of this invader's absolute thirst for control. As the ultimate conquest, the human brain will be a prime prey on their hunting list, and they don't need any weapons to enslave mankind. All they need to do is instill fear into the human mind. Like a lone wolf stalked by a merciless hunter, the human isolated from his fellows will find no help, no support, no respite, no burrow to take refuge in when this war of terror and dread begins. He will be hunted down even in his own home, assailed day and night by terrifying images. The memories of his ancestors forgotten, he will fear to leave his home, his heart cut off from his bloodliness and hardened by years of inner solitude, will come to distrust his neighbors, his friends, and even his own family. This will be the beginning of the end for this soulless humanity with no common vision. Only those who have nurtured their connection to the earth, or have kept their hearts open and their minds awake, will know that it's time to rise up and leave the comfort of their homes to gather at sacred high places to invoke the clemency of the stars, the elders, and the spirits. Those who take the time to cleanse their souls of the blood shed by their ancestors and to purify the earth stained by so much slaughter will have the chance to survive this merciless war. Those who create havens of peace, communities of solidarity and unity of heart will be able to withstand the test of fire that will ignite brains terrified by fear. Together, they will unite in the four corners of the planet. All these souls gathered in the same spirit of absolute love will know how to find the path that leads to peace. Together, They will unite with the stars, the elders and the spirits to reactivate the great will of universal medicine, the center of eternal creation, to cradle Mother Earth and all her inhabitants, bringing down the veil of oblivion and awakening them to their own unified nature. This will be the beginning of a new era in which all humans will finally be brothers and become one with nature, animals, and plants. Part 6. Out of darkness comes light. I was raped when I was 15, without understanding that what I had just been through was called rape. And afterwards, I wanted to die so many times that I even wished I'd had cancer so I wouldn't have to kill myself. I went through depression so dark and deep that I fell to the lowest depths of my being. I sold my body and my soul when I prostituted myself to be able to afford a few doses of crack. I lost all respect for myself for so many years, destroying myself, taking drugs and drinking up to unconsciousness, and being sexually abused by men with bad intentions. I've reproduced I don't know how many times these situations of dissociation linked to the unconscious trauma of my 15th birthday. I'd wake up in the morning and smell semen, but I could not remember who was responsible for depositing it inside me. It was a really unpleasant feeling, and I was only able to get rid of this harmful habit once I realized that I'd been raped 10 years earlier. I explain all this chaotic journey in my first novel, One More Day and It's Tomorrow, so I don't wish to go into detail again in this book about this dark period of my life. The novel is available for free on my YouTube channel, Missy i.anoKi, MISSY space I.anoKi, in 6-part audiobook format. You'll find a 255-page written version in the 6-part description link, which redirects to my blog, where you'll find a free downloadable PDF format. I thus understood why I was reproducing this infernal loop and was able to begin the process of forgiving all my aggressors and myself. I was finally able to allow myself respect. I accepted to see my faults and to recognize that I had taken a wrong path with drugs, alcohol, etc. I had to admit that I had to take a stand. I had to admit that I had to change certain behaviors that were lacking in me. Sometimes we don't immediately seize the opportunity to do our best to be a good person. To be a better person, we have to realize that sometimes we are not a good person for ourselves and others. We have to forgive ourselves for hurting ourselves and others, for sometimes going astray. We're on earth to learn from our mistakes, and negative experiences are there to teach us how to correct ourselves, evolve, and get back on track. Nobody really teaches us properly what love is, so it's never too late to change our old harmful habits. Let's stop hurting ourselves and accepting being hurt. We need to become aware of the thoughts that put us down, I'm not enough, and stop allowing others to underestimate us. I read this phrase the other day. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else today. It's so true. We absolutely must know who we really are and not what others want us to be in order to be happier and live free of our limiting beliefs. By giving our best to transform what we lack, we truly respect ourselves. In this way, we spread our light and love to the rest of the world. Jealousy, envy, and all the other negative poisons no longer affect us because we've created this bubble of love and compassion for ourselves. We now feel compassion, not anger, towards those who haven't yet evolved into something better. We're aware that the most important thing is our own path, the one that leads us to inner happiness. So in the darkest outer chaos, war, famine, poverty, injustice, violence, hatred, racism, jealousy, envy, cruelty, revenge, etc., we keep our inner peace and love for ourselves and humanity. We are in unconditional love. We become enlightened beings. We behave like Buddhas. As far as I'm concerned, every year since 2018, I've been doing a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat as taught by i.anoKi. If you'd like to know more, the Dhamma.org website explains it all. DHAMMA.org. You'll find a list of centers around the world where you can take a course retreat. The courses normally last 10 days, but it seems to me that you can decide how long. I'd really like to make it clear that I praise the benefits of the Vipassana technique as miracles in my case, as it has accelerated my healing process. I would still suffer from bipolarity and schizophrenia, and would certainly have committed suicide after my brother had done so if I would not have already completed 5 retreats. On the other hand, I do the retreats myself on my own because I don't like the concept of Dhamma centers that welcome practitioners free of charge in the form of donations. I have the impression that it's a cult, but that's just my feeling. As I said at the beginning of the book, devotion should be to the teaching, not to the master. In this way, you will protect yourself from any abuse of power. You really must bear in mind that you take the teachings from the masters, but that you're completely independent emotionally from those who pass them on. You must be your own master student, following the teachings and not the masters. Students seem to need structure, and that's why centers exist. Being supervised helps them find inner strength and motivation, so they are less likely to give up before the 10 days are up. For my part, I apply exactly the same instructions as in the retreats. I download the complete Vipassana videos from YouTube and look for a remote, deserted place where I feel safe to spend 10 days meditating 10 hours a day. The only thing I do that is not on the program is to prepare my own food, since I have no other choice and no one to do it for me. In the centers, you're with other students and you're not allowed to talk or make eye contact for 10 days. Everything is organized so that you devote your time to focusing on yourself. The fact that I'm doing the retreat alone makes this easier for me, since there is no one around to distract me. Of course, as a rule, I'm self-disciplined because I've had to use mental strength to transform my life. It was through the power of my mind and my determination that I could stop anorexia, bulimia, hard drugs, alcohol, sex abuse, unconscious reproduction of dissociation, rape, tobacco, cannabis, and all my other self-destructive behaviors. I had to know what I wanted and be strong to achieve it because I did not really have any other choice. So I experimented with mental strength and made it a practice and a habit of life. That's why I can now do 10-day Vipassana meditation retreats on my own without giving up after 3 days. In the same way, this mental strength motivates me to continue practicing the yoga meditation duo. In any case, once I had a taste of the results, going back was impossible. I replaced all my toxic addictions with the practice of this magical yoga meditation duo, and now I can't do without it. Of course, sometimes life throws me into a situation that makes it difficult for me to practice. For example, I'm not at home or my days are full in different ways. I find it hard to find the time to practice, but this is exceptional and won't last for more than a month. I'll always end up making the time to dedicate myself to yoga and meditation in one way or another. Yoga and meditation are essential to my balance and to my physical and mental health. I want to be a Buddha of this new generation. I'm doing everything to not be disturbed in my self-esteem and my inner peace. We need to surround ourselves with people who vibrate with love and positivism. It's our nature to be beings of light and love. We need to work on ourselves to bring out these qualities and stop letting ourselves be controlled by our darker sides, which are harmful and toxic for us as they are opposed to our fundamental nature. Words are powerful and we must use them to spread peace, not war. We all remember the havoc wreaked by Hitler and other dictators with the power of their words. Words influence us, whether external to us or internal, like those voices, thoughts we all hear. And the power of the present moment, Eckhart Tolle refers to these voices as schizophrenia. According to him, we're all schizophrenic because we all have voices, thoughts in our heads, but we are free to choose which ones we want to listen to. It tells us to disidentify ourselves from the mind and become the consciousness of consciousness. It tells us to become a spectator of our thoughts, voices, so that any negative ones lose their hold on us. I did this, and within 4 days, I had eradicated the suicide voices that came in force when I learned that my brother had ended his life in this way. If the voice keeps telling you to get over life, these complications, these problems, etc., then don't listen to it. This voice is not the voice of conscience. Consciousness is the only reliable entity that characterizes who you really are. You are love, you are light. If we believe in the occult, then these negative voices that sabotage our fundamental identity as beings of light and love could be the whisper of a soul lost in its path of reincarnation, taking possession of our mind. Negative voices take advantage of our state of psychological weakness. We lose our senses, listen to them, and end up believing them to be true. I attempted suicide when I was 15 because I was psychologically weakened by the rape I'd just suffered. It's a behavior very often adopted by victims of sexual assault since we think we are guilty and responsible. If we can't find the inner strength to give ourselves the right to happiness, then ending our lives becomes the solution to freeing ourselves from our suffering. Luckily, I failed in that attempt, and since then, when I hear that voice telling me to end my life, I decide not to listen. I understand that I'm psychologically weak and depressed, and that it's in these moments of fragility that the voice mingles with my clear thoughts. I don't let it take over and control my actions and my life like it used to. I've had major depressions that led me to self-destruction. Drugs, alcohol, sex abuse, anorexia, bulimia, etc., and to psychiatric hospital twice. I really had to make the choice at some point in my life to be happy. I had to do everything in my power to cut this vicious circle of destruction and disrespect for myself. I now give myself the kindness and respect I deserve, and tomorrow is another day. Being kind to ourselves and others is a choice we all have to make. We often accumulate too much energy, which can make us unpleasant, impulsive, and even aggressive. Daily yoga practice helps to channel this energy. On the other hand, betrayal, disrespect, lies, hypocrisy, etc. are behaviors that are totally removed from the path to happiness. We often have an internal violence buried in the memories of our unconscious, which can sometimes resurface in our behavior depending on the situation we find ourselves in. Granting ourselves the right to be happy for good is a way of allowing ourselves softness of spirit, tranquility and peace. Everything happens in the mind, so we have to be careful not to let ourselves be carried away by doubts, fear, remorse, guilt, anger, and so on. Repressing our anger is not the solution, but we do need to channel it. Some sports, like boxing, allow us to harness it and get it out of us. Yoga, meditation, martial arts, and all practices based on breathing, breath control, slow movements, breathing exercises, and concentration help to channel energies and release negative emotions. Then we need to make room for forgiveness and compassion at some point in our lives. Using words for good, whether for ourselves by avoiding self-sabotaging, I'm not capable, or for those around us, is a way of life we need to put into practice. Few people have taught us this because our educators have trained us to be productive, efficient and competitive. Lifting up the people in our path to help them with their self-confidence and self-esteem is one of the ways we can help ourselves in this revaluation of our self-esteem. It's the road to transformation and happiness, and it involves changing attitudes, ways of speaking and behaving towards ourselves and others. At least that's what the great masters of philosophical thought on the subject of happiness are talking about. Some of the more modern players in the awakening of consciences are also adopting this vision. Christophe André, for example, was one of the first psychiatrists to introduce the use of mindfulness meditation in psychotherapy and behavioral and cognitive therapies in France. We sometimes feel so bad that we want to die. We sink into the murky waters of our being, and each rise to the surface is like a great breath of oxygen. We finally realize how lucky we are to be alive. I'm passionate about the question of happiness, and I'm simply repeating in my own words the teachings, advice and reflections I've picked up from my reading and listening. I apply them and experience them firsthand. As far as I'm concerned, the results are fabulous. I'm becoming a completely different person. That's why I'm really motivated to pass on the keys that have helped me in my rebirth through writing, because I think the advice that has been useful to me will be useful to you too. It's imperative that we break all the agreements we've made with what others have said about us, e.g., you're not capable, you'll never make it, you're not good enough, and so on. Often these agreements we've accepted and integrated belittle us, and then they become our inner voice, and we continue on our own without anyone's help to sabotage ourselves. I'm not enough, I'm rubbish, and so on. If we want to be happy, it's imperative that we put an end to this right now. It's a practice we need to start today. We need to be proud of who we are, and if we're not, then that means it's time to decide who we want to become, so we can be proud of that decision about wanting to improve ourselves. Of course, we have to be patient with ourselves, because results take time, patience, self-discipline, and perseverance. We can start today by telling ourselves that we love ourselves. We need to forgive ourselves for thinking so badly of ourselves and others. Forgive ourselves and others. Repeating positive affirmative phrases to ourselves enables us to change our beliefs, our thoughts, our personality, and therefore our reality. Asserting ourselves and learning to listen to ourselves allows us to detach ourselves from the importance of the gaze and approval of others. Here are some examples of positive affirmations that we need to repeat on a daily basis so that they become what we think. I forgive myself for my mistakes because they are experiences. I come out stronger and more aware. I trust in life. I have confidence in myself. I listen to myself and do only what I want to do. I don't let anyone prick my heart with the power of a devastating word. I'm aware that this person is hurting themselves and not me. I listen to my heart, love myself and celebrate the good fortune of being alive, etc. You need to feel connected with these phrases, so it's up to you to formulate them in the way that resonates most with your personality and with what you aspire to become. Affirmative sentences are unique and personal. There's no such thing as a good or bad affirmative sentence. Sentences simply have to be free of negatives. For example, when I wanted to put an end to the depressive phases of bipolar disorder, I did not say, I wish I was not depressed anymore, but I'm grateful for my physical and mental health. I repeated this every day as much as I could, at least 50 times a day, maybe 100, when I woke up and went to bed, during the day, at night, if I woke up. Within 2 years, depression had left me for good. I now have around 30 positive affirmations that I've built up since I made the decision to want to be happy and listened to Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, to whom I refer in part 2 of chapter 4. It was while listening to their audio on YouTube that I discovered the power of positive affirmations and decided to give them a try. The results are indisputable. Our unconscious really does make changes to our reality. Positive affirmations reprogram our unconscious to be positive and focused on the future. Try it and see for yourself. You have the power to heal yourself of what ails you mentally. Your happiness lies in your mental liberation. Positive affirmations are essential for anyone who wants to become a better, happier person. If we want a better, more peaceful world, then we have to start by making peace with ourselves. By forgiving ourselves for the wrong we've done to ourselves and for all the mistakes we've made, we learn from them. There is no such thing as failure. We only have experiences from which we can learn. In the same way, good and bad are concepts. If we look closely, we can see a naturally harmonious balance in all situations. As the Buddha said, everything is perfect. Forgiving ourselves allows us to move forward and break the chains of fear, doubt, the unknown, and lack of self-confidence. Daring to do what we've always dreamed of without the fear of failure means living our dreams, not dreaming our lives. Making mistakes allows us to pick ourselves up again, walking each day in a more conscious present, and thus finding peace and inner balance is the ultimate realization of our being, the legend of humanity. You are the creator of what happens to you. You can do whatever you want with your life. It's a movie and you're the main character. You decide which role you want to play, the hero or the victim. You choose the story and even the ending. If, like me, your life has often taken the form of a melodrama, it's never too late to turn it into a happy ending. We need to do what we really want to do from now on, do the things we've never done before and renew our lives in the same way we renew our wardrobe. The yoga meditation duo is a very good lifestyle to adopt. Practicing for at least 10 minutes every day helps us to feel more at peace, in harmony, and to accept the course of things and what is external to us. Some books on reincarnation suggest that our soul cycles through several lifetimes, accumulating more experience each time in our quest for spiritual development. We all have a purpose in life, a goal or a mission, but very few people seek it. As Carl Gustav Jung explains, we are influenced by the collective unconscious. According to Jung, this collective unconscious, which differs from the individual unconscious, is made up of instincts and archetypes guided by the past life experience of our ancestors and fellow human beings. We reproduce certain behaviors because they are anchored in our collective memory. This is how we instinctively fear snakes. We don't really know why, but our ancestors have integrated it into the collective memory. That's how the fear of snakes comes instinctively at birth. It's a collective heritage. Many of our behaviors are also associated with fear. It's linked to the protection mechanism that's anchored in the collective psyche. For example, the fact that a woman travels alone almost systematically inspires a feeling of fear. Most people think it's risky, dangerous, and so on. They associate a fact with an idea without even having experienced it personally, because it's ingrained in the collective unconscious. A woman who travels alone is unconscious and puts her life at risk. This is how we reproduce family thought patterns or negative experiences and behaviors that don't belong to us until we grasp their mechanism. Only we can stop this process and break the chain of reproduction by detaching ourselves from it and understanding that something external is influencing us. We need to find out why behavior, emotion, phobia, etc. is triggered in our lives for no apparent reason. Many people have told me they have a phobia of water, but have no reason to justify this extreme fear. So they go through life depriving themselves of the joy of swimming in the sea, for example. I've even known people who felt an extreme fear of putting their feet in water. One lady explained to me that she had an incomprehensible phobia of driving, forcing her to take public transport. But she's never had any therapy or even questioned herself to try to understand where this fear comes from. For her, it's just the way things are, it's part of her, whereas this fear obviously does not belong to her. It makes no sense to live one's whole life with such a limitation without even wanting to get rid of it and try to understand where it comes from. We need to deprogram ourselves from the defense mechanisms of the collective psyche because we unconsciously reproduce them to protect ourselves, but they prevent us from living fully liberated and consciously happy in the present moment. Inversely, we sometimes receive intuitions, coincidences, or small miracles, a sense of déjà vu that point us in the right direction or show us that we've strayed off course. We are often only vaguely aware of our gifts, talents, and great intellectual potential. When we become more deeply aware of this knowledge about ourselves, we reconnect with our true self. We no longer allow any institutionally imposed religion or doctrine to shape our way of being and distance us from our true spirituality and connection with our being. We trust life and the inner voice that guides us, our intuition. We must desire to live in harmony with who we really are and learn to truly express our emotions and dark sides. We often repress them and feel ashamed of them. We have to realize that this attitude is the fruit of our creation. We are responsible for it, even if it's not our fault. For example, if we've often been humiliated as children, we are likely to develop a shy, introverted personality, or on the contrary, a sadistic, perverse one. Of course, we have the opportunity to realize that what we are is the consequence of this humiliation-based educational model. But once we're adults, even if our personality has been unconsciously built around this model, it still becomes the fruit of our creation, since we identify with it, no matter how unconsciously. If introverted personalities say to themselves, "I'm shy, I'm afraid of public speaking, etc., or conversely, I want everyone to obey me," for perverse and sadistic personalities, the fact remains that this is the fruit of our creation. Neuroscience tells us that we are what we think. We therefore have the power to recognize that our personality tends towards certain character traits due to the upbringing we have received. Humiliation, violence, abuse, or too much appreciation. But we can also work on what we want to identify with. We have the choice of saying, "I'm shy today, but I want to open up." We'll work on our shyness with positive affirmations, and then the thought, "I'm curious and open to meeting new people," will be fully integrated into our subconscious. This is who we will have become, this is what we will have created. By finding the person we really are, we vibrate on the frequency of love, thus realizing ourselves and making the necessary changes to feel better about ourselves. We vibrate with the frequencies of happiness because we do what we want. We've learned from every defeat and bad experience, and this has made us stronger. We now know that we can move on to a new chapter. We should be grateful for every event in our lives, however tragic it may be, like my brother's suicide, and we should also be thankful that life has not turned us to dust yet. The 4 Toltec agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, are also part of the evolution change happiness practices I apply on a daily basis. Always do your best. Never take anything personally. Never make assumptions. And have an impeccable word. Applying these 4 agreements contributes to our transformation and to the cessation of unnecessary suffering. Our lives can truly change, and we can live without fear of the future. Of course, we need to apply the same discipline with these 4 agreements as we do with the rest of the techniques: meditation, yoga, positive affirmations, healthy diet, etc. By this, I mean that we really have to put ourselves in the mindset that this is what we want to experience and see it through to the end. The results depend on your discipline, regularity, perseverance, and faith. Life will regularly put you in situations in which you'll need to remember that it's the 4 Toltec agreements that must govern your decisions and the way you behave and think. For example, someone does not react the way you'd like them to. This happens many times in our lives. So you have to say to yourself, I don't make assumptions, I don't take facts personally, and I keep my words impeccable. Of course, every time you try to apply this, temptation will sometimes be stronger and your mind will spin your thoughts in a loop that will make you make an assumption and take the thing personally. At the same time, you'll find yourself judging and your speech will no longer be impeccable. Impeccable speech means not judging yourself or others, but also doing what you've said. That's why the always do your best agreement is considered the most important of the 4. Whatever you do, if you always do your best, you can forgive yourself if sometimes you don't resist your thoughts. It's your thoughts, your mind, that make you make assumptions, take situations personally, and lose the impeccability of your word. These 4 chords are very powerful, equivalent to positive affirmations in terms of effectiveness and mindfulness. Without mindfulness, or the observation of your mind if you prefer, applying these agreements is impossible. It's your awareness that leads you to make the decision to follow the agreements rather than allowing yourself to be led by the thoughts of your mind. So if sometimes we lose motivation or succumb to a temptation to make an assumption or take something personally, we apply the most important agreement, always do our best. In this way, we can forgive ourselves and continue on this path of transformation, evolution, and benevolence, which is undoubtedly the right one. The frustration and emotional destructuring of our inner child should help us to work on our dark side. Our parents acted with the knowledge they had, and few of them questioned their often erroneous educational schema. From generation to generation, we inherit a traumatized genetic heritage. They passed on their fears, their doubts, their unfounded and often false beliefs, and program us to be somebody by shaping us in their image. They unconsciously shape us in their image, but it's our responsibility to break the chains of this programming. In this way, each of us regains our right to realize our individuality and bring out our true Buddha nature. By living in the present moment, fully and unapologetically, we do everything we can to get what we want. The teachings are everywhere, and we are our own people disciple. We really need to nurture our inner child and get to know ourselves, to know what we want, because we are explorers of happiness. Sometimes we lose peace, balance, light and hope. We need to stay aligned so that it all just flows through us. There is certainly a state of alignment, peace, love and gentleness with who we are, with others and with life in general. A state of gentleness with what is that makes us stable and balanced. This is the most beautiful thing that can happen to humanity, and it will naturally permeate our collective choices and actions. Once this has been achieved, no one will want to go back and lose it. Part 7. Summary of the various liberation happiness methods. Actions to be taken. Observe your fears and other limitations, blockages, etc. Deprogram oneself from beliefs and agreements made with loved ones and society. Undertake various therapies to free yourself, all kinds of psychotherapies, regressive hypnosis, ayahuasca, yoni egg, etc. Forcing yourself to travel alone. Be patient with your healing. Stop addictions and anything toxic, including those around you. Eat a healthy, balanced diet. For my part, I now practice daily intermittent fasting, mode 8:16 to 4:20. This means that in 8:16 mode, for example, I only eat between 10 and 6 p.m. or 12 and 8 p.m. In 4:20 mode, I'll eat between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. The shorter the time slots, the less I eat. These are examples of time slots during which I allow myself to eat, and I adapt them to my lifestyle and according to the hours and sports I practice. I don't have the same time slots in summer as in winter, for example, or if I practice gentle yoga or if I swim in open water. Of course, I do make exceptions when I'm invited to dinner at the last minute at 9 p.m., for example, and I should have finished my last meal at 6 p.m. For my part, the intermittent fasting really helped me to get back to a balanced diet. I'd always oscillated between anorexia and bulimia since I'd dropped down to 39 kgs. When one of these two forms of mental illness affects us, it's hard to get rid of it for good. The intermittent fasting helped me to rediscover a normal and respectful relationship with food. Substitute addictions with a new positive routine: sport, meditation, yoga, etc. Practice self-discipline. No choice. When you see that you've turned your life upside down, allow yourself to be yourself. Carl Gustav Jung's individuation process. Give yourself the right to be happy. Do everything to be happy. Listen to your own needs and desires. Get to know yourself. Explore life. Applying mindfulness happiness techniques. Ho'oponopono method. Sorry, forgive me, thank you, I love you. Positive affirmations. C.F. Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, etc. Thank you when you wake up, plus smile. C.F. Wayne Dyer. The 4 Toltec agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz. Yoga, at least 10 minutes a day. Daily meditation, at least 10 minutes morning and evening. Meditation on forgiveness, compassion, kindness, guided meditation, etc. Plus 1 10-day Vipassana retreat per year. Info dhamma.org. DHAMMA.org. Take care to give devotion to the teachings and not to the masters who transmit them, to avoid any psychological hold or abuse of power. The right attitude. Faith. Have faith in the greater being of which we are part and which is an integral part of us. Have faith in the divine energy that guides your steps. Patience. Be patient with yourself, others, and life in general. Each thing and each being has its own reason, and we must accept and respect this if we are to harmonize with what surrounds us. Self-discipline. You must convince yourself that you have the ability to be a very good student in this new discipline called happiness. Perseverance. Don't give up every time you don't see yourself living up to your expectations. Simply don't set the bar too high so that you can gravitate ever higher, little by little, like a little hummingbird. Regularity. Meditation practice must be a daily effort if you want to see results in your evolution. Find at least 5 minutes each morning and evening to practice your daily meditation. Compassion. Work on yourself to fill your heart and thoughts with compassion and at the same time eliminate judgment from your life, which is one of the real poisons of existence, preventing you from living a life fully harmonious. Forgiveness. Forgive yourself and all those who have consciously or unconsciously tried to interfere with your happiness. Acceptance. Accept the present moment as it is, for what is and what must be. The Buddha said, all is perfect. Singing. As far as I'm concerned, I like to sing to counteract the negative energy I feel when people intend to harm me or for personal reasons don't behave with kindness. It's really effective because my attention is focused on singing rather than on the other person's negative attitude. In this way, the bad energy dissipates quickly and does not infect me with unnecessary suffering. Laugh out loud. Since I've managed to turn my dark side into light, I often find myself laughing at the madness of humans and my chaotic past. And frankly, laughter is one of the best therapies there is, along with music and silence. Practice silence. I'll come back to the importance of silence in more detail in a future book. Silence seems to be a practice in this society, which influences us with useless chatting in order to fill the silence. Silence is uncomfortable, yet it is recommended by spiritual masters for those who wish to achieve a greater connection with the divine. In all cases, silence must be practiced during meditation, but practicing silence outside meditation amplifies the connection to the divine and to the world of invisible forces of creation. I've been practicing it daily since 2020, and here too, of course, I make exceptions when it's worthwhile or when pointless chatter is useful. It's not always possible to talk about spirituality, psychology, or quantum science, and in this case, I practice useless chatting just to socialize and understand people. I observe the way they think and behave, but frankly, now that I've had a taste of silence, I find it really hard to talk for nothing. I allow myself an hour of conversation a day, maximum 2 or 3 times a week, and I am silent the rest of the time. Silence has helped me considerably to reduce the autistic crisis I'd been having since I was 20, 2003. It was at the age of 32, 2015, that they really amplified and became almost deadly and very strong. When my brother committed suicide in September 2016, I knew I was going to join him if I did not take control of my life. I needed to find a solution for the bipolarity I suffered from, the crises, addictions of all kinds, etc. that handicapped my life. In the midst of the mental turmoil of this tragedy, I decided to start meditating. I'm going to make it a regular practice in addition to the yoga I'd already started practicing shortly before. As I explained, in 5 years I have literally transformed myself. Seeing the undoubtedly unquestionable results, I decided to add silence to my spiritual routine. And here too, I don't regret my choice and I won't go back on my decision. I'll be practicing silence every day until my last breath. That's about it. Don't get discouraged. Start your ascent in order without skipping any steps. If you want to achieve full awareness and freedom from suffering without going through the previous stages, introspection, analysis, therapy, etc. That's your decision and your experience. You organize your life as you wish, but I sincerely believe that we are a reflection of the chaos that reigns in the universe. Everything has an order, everything is organized, everything has a meaning. In the world of spirituality, it's said that it's from darkness that light emerges. Bonus: a bit of metaphysics. Reflections by Trinh Xuan Tuan. Trinh Xuan Tuan is an astrophysicist specializing in extragalactic astronomy and a Vietnamese-American writer and lecturer. His Confucian upbringing has given him a keen awareness of the scientist's responsibility to pass on his knowledge so that everyone is aware of the ethical issues raised by scientific progress. Through his books, he has explained and developed his positions in favor of the strong anthropic principle. According to him, nature is not silent. Like a distant orchestra, she is constantly sending us fragments of music and scattered notes. In 2004, using the Hubble Space Telescope, he discovered the Zwicky 18 galaxy. In 2009, he was awarded the UNESCO Kalinga Prize. He was rewarded for his outstanding contribution to scientific research, as well as for his outstanding scientific skills in making science accessible to the general public through audiovisual means and his writings in a language that everyone can understand. Wikipedia. Excerpts from the book Facing the Universe. Either we believe in the existence of God, or we don't. The best bet is to believe in God. The best bet is to believe in God because if He really exists, the payoff will be infinite, whereas if He does not, the loss will be finite and minimal. If parallel universes exist, if the setting is accidental, if we are here by chance and our existence has no meaning, then the loss would remain finite. In Facing the Universe, the biologist, botanist and economist Jean-Marie Pelt is quoted warning of the devastation that man is inflicting on the planet and other living species. He believes that the universe has a meaning and that man plays an essential role in giving it that meaning. In his view, science and spirituality are not opposites, but rather two complementary windows through which we can apprehend the universe, with the concepts of uncertainty, indeterminacy, unpredictability, incompleteness, and undecidability taking over. Science now knows that it cannot know everything. Like Trinh Xuan Tuan, he believes that we need to call on other modes of knowledge, such as mystical or spiritual intuition, if we are to reach the end of the road and gain access to ultimate reality. Also quoted in Trinh Truan Truan's book is the sociologist and philosopher Edgar Morin, who also reports on the sad state of our modern society. In his view, we are dominated by the quest for power over things. We forget that we depend on nature and that nature is not just made up of material objects. In the biosphere, animals have sensitivities and intelligence. In other civilizations and philosophies, such as Taoism and Buddhism, we can find ways of resurrecting the human qualities we have lost. The whole history of life proceeds from an emergence. Something new is born from a set of conditions, just as life was born from a set of molecules that had no vital properties of their own. It was the combination of these molecules, their links and their organization that brought them to life. Buddhism does not refer to a central creator or God, but to a wisdom that comes from an awakened being. The latter will have become aware of the world of suffering around us and will have thought about ways out of this general suffering. It's also a practice that helps us realize that our world, while real, is also an appearance, an illusion, that it possesses a certain fragility and is not absolute. Hence samsara, the world of space, time and object, and nirvana, where these three concepts do not exist. This notion is also found in quantum physics, where, for example, objects can be located in several places in space at the same time. So we know that our world sometimes escapes our logic, even as we live in it. The absolute that Edgar Morin sees in the world is suffering, happiness and affectivity, and according to him, everything else is relative. That's why he believes it's important and essential to connect with Eastern philosophies. Reflections by Jean d'Ormesson. Jean d'Ormesson is a French writer, journalist and philosopher. Excerpts from the book It's a Strange Thing in the End, the World. Why is there something instead of nothing? A global order reigns in this world where each part contains the whole, and the whole reflects each part. The universe is a system whose elements are linked to one another. It's in the present that we remember the past. It's in the present that we project ourselves into the future. The present is always changing and it never stops being there. And we are prisoners of it, caught between an invading future and a knowing past. Our lives never cease to unfold in an eternal or almost eternal present, always fading and always being reborn. This is a realm of hope. It's the realm of faith. Everyone can put it in what they want and even refuse it, seeing it as an illusion, a mystification, a sham. It's this dark night that men call God. What makes God so powerful in the eyes of men is that even if we believe in Him, we don't know if He exists. Mystery lies at the heart of faith. Being is, and that's enough. Why is there something instead of nothing? Because life prevails over nothingness. Being is, it's enough, and the choice of words is free. We can call it God. I hope there's nothing after death that I know nothing about. I hope there is, outside time, a power that, by approximation and for simplicity's sake, we can call God. The most incomprehensible thing in the world is that the world is comprehensible. Einstein. Acknowledgements. Dear readers, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for bringing this book to life. I sincerely hope it will be of benefit to you in the future. Even if astrophysics says there is no time, the present you decide to build for yourself by learning from your past is working for your future, as well as that of humanity as a whole. We may be just stardust, but our role is infinitely greater than we could ever imagine. So let us imagine, my children, let us dare to imagine, for in the infinity of this vast quantum universe of all possibilities, our dreams will come true. You are precious, so I want to dedicate this book to you who gave it life. You are the treasure hidden deep within yourself, so shine, my children, and spread your light. I love you all. anorexia. Use your time to get rid of personal tendencies and habits. True spirituality is not about making you feel more comfortable in your projections. You don't have to be perfectly impeccable to have only good thoughts, no desires, and only positive attitudes. But you do have to use everything life brings you to transcend what's not true and confirm the truth. Be that space in which all expressions rise, play, and reach their conclusion without yourself becoming entangled in any mental game. At any moment and from any direction, welcome and confirm your silent, unchanging self.